Welcome to V1's 12 Days of Drills. I'm Michael Breed, excited over the next 12 days to help you improve your game. We've got some of the best teachers in the world giving you their favorite drills. I'm going to kick it off today, but excited to help you improve your game, get you excited for this new year that's right around the corner, and help you improve your game. So you make sure you've got an idea of how you're going to hit the ball a little bit better or get that curve back, more solid strike, short game stuff, whatever it is inside the studio here. I've got Steve Gibbs, who's going to be running all the cameras, and then I've got in the corner there, Elf Greg. There he is. Look at the elf. Elf, you're looking sharp.
Thank you, as are you.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Great hat.
So here's what we're going to do. We're going to look at some of your swings, and many of you have sent swings in. So I'm going to jump into my V1 system here and kind of give you some ideas as to how you can improve. And also, too, any questions that you have. You're just going to put them in the chat. Elf Greg is going to read them out to me, and then I'm going to be able to help you out. So without further ado, we're jumping into the V1 here. And let's go over to some swings. We'll start with Kenneth here. And again, we probably got, I don't know how many we got, but we got a lot. We've got about, say, 10 or so in here. I don't know whether we're going to be able to get to everybody, but please, we're going to try to do our best to get to all these swings and also to all of your questions. Also, I'm going to share with you maybe some abstract drills that I have found to be very successful. And I've actually got one up that'll be coming up. My favorite sort of universal drill. I might even get into that a little bit. But let's see what Kenneth has got going on here now. Let me jump back here. So my fault, I hit the wrong button. Don't you hate when that happens? Let's go over here. Hey, Gregory.
Try a quick double click here.
Well, let me just restart this thing here. You know what? Here's what I'm going to ask you to do, Greg. I'm going to ask you to come up here and get this thing working again. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to just go through one of my favorite drills. Because one of the things that we all struggle with is delivering a solid strike. And so in that, come on up. Don't worry about it.
I'm going to wait for it to restart. It'll come back up.
So what we're going to do is we're just going to work on one of the solid starts, the solid strikes. So I'm going to get an alignment stick. And what I like to do with the alignment stick, and Gibbsy, if you can give me a camera 1 here, what I like to do is I like to lay this down at my target and then put this right off where the ball might be. What this does is, and I know this sounds really simple, but you see this every single week with PGA Tour players. They are out on the range working on their must-haves, and you must have a great setup. You must have consistent ball position. You must take care of all the things that put this club into motion. And so it starts with alignment. And I don't mean just where you're aiming over here. I'm talking about where you're aiming in the address position, how your shoulders, knees, hips, and feet all line up. So what I like to do is I like to have this measured with my 6-iron. So let's go back to that's perfect. So I like to have this measured on my 6-iron. When I go in here, and I tend to lean just a little bit into my left side, you can see that ball position there. Looks like it's just a little bit past the center of the stance, which is exactly where I want it with my 6-iron. Now, as I'm getting comfortable with this, I'm not working on my shot shape just yet. All I'm working on is getting used to what I'll call baseline. So here, start there. And what you can see is that golf ball now is going to kind of track down the line of my target. In fact, that one there is pretty much in the center of that target. So good strike. And when you see that one had a little bit of a draw to it. Gives you, if you can pull that back up again, and you're going to see that's got a little bit, just a little slight draw to it. That ball it started to the right about 1.2 degrees, and then it moved to the left about 130 RPM. So not a lot of movement. Now, if I'm going to start to hit cuts, this is where things are going to alter just a little bit. I'm not going to bring you through how I'm going to reposition my tee, but what I can tell you is that I'll move my ball position a little bit more forward because I want to invite a little bit of an over the top, if you want to call it that. And I'm going to move this back just a little bit so I don't hit this in my through. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to feel this club now coming across to create a little bit of a cut. So now I start over there, and then I have just a little bit of a fade, really solid strike, almost hit my target again, and watch this come up. You could see that one started 1.4 to the left, so my other shot was 1.2 to the right, and then it spun about 130 RPMs to the left. That one there spun about 230 RPMs to the left. So, I mean, to the right. So I hit a little bit of what I call a brush cut. Not a lot of stuff going on. Now, let's see if we can... See, this is why, by the way, everybody needs an Elf Greg, okay? I have an Elf Greg. I'm sure you're going to send in and go, hey, thank you, Elf Greg, for getting that done, particularly Kenneth. So, Kenneth, as we go here, club moves back. It's actually in a fairly good position, but you can see how much bend we have in this. Let me just blow this up a little bit for you here. And this is one of the things, again, you know, we talk about why V1. Because they're the best. And for me, when I'm dealing with the best, I'm going to make sure that this can do all the things that I want it to do. And this certainly is doing everything I want to do. So I bring it full, and now I put it back on this drawing. So what you can see here is that this trail arm has bent quite significantly at parallel to the ground. First parallel, we talk about that club in that position. So that's going to be a bit of a problem. Club is in a pretty good spot. But at the top of the swing, what you're going to notice is that there's no hip depth right here. So when I talk about that, I'm looking at that trail hip. There's really no hip depth. And when we don't have the hip depth, now we don't have we don't load that heel. I want you to see how that heel. So pay attention to that heel and watch when he takes the club back, how all of a sudden you can see a lot. In fact, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to blow this up a little bit, even more. And I'm going to shift this up. Now, go back to the very beginning. Now, pay attention to the space that's happening right in there, in the heel. And watch what happens as this starts to go. He's loading the toe, not the heel. And so at the top of the swing, this heel should be planted into the ground. It's not. So, Gibbsy, I know I'm going to need a camera 7 down on my right heel. So if you could, just bring a camera 7, move it down into the heel position over here, if you would. Okay, good. Now, when I make a backswing, if I'm making my backswing and my heel is going up in the air, which I'm exaggerating quite a bit, now all of a sudden, give me a camera 1, now all of a sudden this hip hasn't rotated. But when this hip rotates, and if you look at this pocket, so this pocket never gets to the trail side of that heel. Well, I want this pocket to get on the back side of that heel. And now all of a sudden, if you go back to that camera 7, yeah, look at how that's planted in there. So one of my favorite drills to do is this. Let's jump to a camera 2, yeah. So all I do is I just take my 6-iron and I put it right on my thigh, right about where the seam of the pant is. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to rotate that hip. And if you go, Gibbsy, into a 1 for me, I want to make sure that this club is falling down behind me. So I rotate my hip and it drops back there. Now, let's do this again. Only this time I'm going to hit a ball. So I need another club. I'm going to need another ball. Bring this in here like this. Now I put this right there. Now what I'm going to do is when I make this swing, I'm going to feel this hip go back. I'm going to feel this pocket go back. So I have rotation, not slide. So slide, you're going to feel that grip run up your thigh. I'm going to rotate so it drops. And then I'm going to hit one here. So in here like this, rotate that hip and go. Now, I'll tell you the other reason why I love this drill so much is it will slow down your swing. Because what happens is these are going to move a whole lot slower than these. So what happens is that when this hip rotates, now all of a sudden my trail arm isn't going to bend because I'm not lifting the club up. I'm letting the body swing the club back so it rotates like this, and now I have a whole lot more time because this takes more time. For this to do this versus this going like this, it's night and day difference. So Kenneth and all of you, work on this drill. It will give you more club head speed. It will help you get that club coming from the inside. And what you're going to end up doing is you're going to have a lot more energy later in your round because you're using the big muscles instead of the small muscles. And the other thing that will happen is that club face is going to get a lot squarer. Okay, so let me shrink this back down and show you. So this club goes back. Now he loops it under because he's making do with a kind of a poor situation. Club is coming dramatically from the inside. Look at how much this club is coming from the inside right here. And then you know what also happens? He stands up. So that's where he is at impact. Look, I could do a better job with that. So there's shoulder to hip right there. And now at address, there's shoulder to hip right there. So you can see how much he's altered his angle of his back coming through that strike. So, and that's all because of the hips not working and the arms and hands lifting. Greg, do you have any questions yet?
Yes. Is there a drill you could recommend to establish a consistent bottom of the arc to prevent thin and fat shots?
Absolutely.
That's from Michael.
That's from Michael?
Yep.
Okay. All right, Michael. So here's what I like to do. I'm going to set this up a little bit differently this time. I'm going to put this over here. And I'm going to put this alignment stick like this, okay? Club is going to be sold here. Now, what I want to do is make sure that that club, when it's getting into the ground, and you could probably take a pipe cam and bring that pipe cam down on this one, Gibbsy. So what it happens is when I start to come down into this strike, there you go, zoom right in there. That's fantastic. So when I'm coming in, if I intend on getting into the mat in front of that alignment stick that's right there, now the bottom arm of the arc is in front of the golf ball, or at least at the golf ball. And what it will do is, and this is really actually neat, so I'm going to show you this, how cool this is. If you know what, I'm going to record this. This is one of the other cool things that I love about this V1 app, is I can record whatever I want to record, and I've got the cameras that are set up in the positions that I want. So, by the way, you might not be a New York Giants fan, I understand, but this is kind of a Santa thing. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to record this, and I'm going to show you how I'm using my V1 app here, okay? So I'm going to throw this club early, okay? So I chucked that. Now, watch what happens here. So I'm chucking. I'm hanging back. You can see the hang back and all this. This is the chuck. So that club shaft now at impact is it's probably got 4 or 5 degrees of forward lean. But here's what I want you to notice here. So this is how I use the app. I'm going to see what my launch angle is on this. It's one of my favorite things to use with the app. So now, if I draw this going up here like this, so that launched at about 22 degrees, okay? There's a 22 degree launch. Now, watch this with this drill. I'm going to move this over here. I'm going to put this stuff in the hitting area, and then I'm going to show you the difference. I'm not going to record this, but I'm going to get the information off of the sim. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to really feel that club getting into the ground over here, and I will have done that drill. And you can, who was that question from, by the way?
Michael.
Michael. So Michael, you'll have done this drill a lot. You'll get an understanding of what I'm talking about as you do this. And I like to use a shoelace with this as well. But watch what happens to this launch angle now as a result of me hanging onto this angle and then letting this go late or after this other alignment stick. So now I hit that shot. Very, very solid strike there. Now, come on up to the front here. And when you come up here, what you're going to see is, remember I was at 22 degrees on that other one. And that's because I threw the club. Now I come up here, my launch angle is now 17.8 degrees. Let's just call it 18. So I got a 4-degree lower initial start line, or that vertical launch. And the ball obviously is going to go a little bit farther. That thing went 187 yards because there's less loft on that club. I'm hitting it a little bit lower on the face, and I have a lot more power in there. That drill is going to be a great drill for you, okay? All right, let me get to another swing. Let me look at, here's Julia. And by the way, I really appreciate everybody sending their questions in. I appreciate the swings that we've got. There's a number that we've got in here. And as I said before, not sure we're going to be able to get to all of them, but we're going to do our best, okay? All right, here's Julia. So sets up. Good setup position. Takes a club back again. So there's a lot of hand activity, not a lot of body activity going on right here with Julia. And now she's kind of bowing to the ball. So watch what happens if we put this over here and this over here. And the other thing that's going to happen, just so that you all know, typically these swings are shot by friends or individuals that are nearby. And so because it's being held by a human, there's going to be some movement. So you're going to see this camera move, and they're going to move all over the place because it's a rare time that somebody's taking their phone, putting it on a tripod, and keeping it absolutely still. So there will be some movement here as a result of the camera moving. But what you can see when Julia takes this club back is she's going to bow down. See her bow down right there? And that bowing down now throws a lot of weight to the toes again. Not a tremendous amount of depth in the shoulder. Not a lot of depth in the hands. Very vertical right here, and we've got a little bit of a bend going on in that arm. And so now what she does is she's going to play out on her toes. And as a result of her playing out on her toes, you see at impact right here, there's no body rotation. Now, how do we solve this? Well, there's some fun things that as I have done all the things that I've done in teaching, what I have learned, thankfully, is that everybody's different, which is cool. I love the fact that people are different. If everybody was the same, it'd be very, very boring. My son told me that a long time ago, probably when he was about 4. So I like the fact that people are different. And what that means is people learn differently. So before, I was talking about turning the hip. Well, now with Julia, maybe for her, it's a thought process of an upper body thing. And there have been many, many times and many, many drills by great coaches all over the place. In fact, Jack Nicklaus first wrote about this for me when I read it. It was, I want to take the lead shoulder and I want to turn it to the trail toe. Now, I love that. What I like to do is and this is going to be important for down the line, what I like to is I don't like to just turn it to the toe. I want to turn it parallel and back to the toe. So I want to feel my shoulders turning parallel, not perpendicular. And when with somebody like Julia, and this is important for you to understand, when you start thinking about turning it down, that's going to feed the demon. The demon in your swing is that your shoulders are going this way. They're tilting and tipping. I want you to feel when you're turning that you're turning your lead shoulder parallel to the ground, not perpendicular to the ground. And when you start to do that, and this will require a one shot here, Gibbsy, when you start to do that, now all of a sudden your hands are going to have depth. Because what happens is when I take my shoulders and I tilt them this way, now it takes my arms and make them very perpendicular or vertical. When I take my shoulders and I turn them level, now my arms move level. And now all of a sudden I can get a little bit more from the inside, and also I'll have some more back weight. So this would be bad, and this would be good. So when I come in here, now I'm going to hit this ball, when I do this properly, is going to start out to the right, and it's going to have a nice little draw to it. So my shoulders are going to turn a little parallel. My hands will have a little depth. That'll start out to the right, and that'll turn over to the left-hand side, and a very, very strong hit. Now, what happens for me when I do that is I get excessive spin. So what you're going to see, and Gibbsy, if you can pull that shot up again on the sim, what you're going to see is how much that ball moved from right to left. What you're also going to see is how far it started to the right. That one started about 2 degrees to the right. It had over 1,000 RPMs of spin, which makes that thing turn quite a bit. So good for some, not good for all. And so that's one of the things that's important, okay? Understand that depth of the shoulders and how the hands are going to get back there by thinking of the shoulders turning parallel to the ground instead of perpendicular to the ground. We have any more questions?
Yes, this one from Jim. I'm 74 and losing distance with irons. It's mostly poor contact. Any tips to make better contact? Thank you.
Okay, so without the privilege of being able to talk to Jim, one of the things that I find is that we get a little bit older, and I'm one of those. I'm nearing 60 now. And in fact, I just had a weekend of sports. And today, I'm sore. And as we get older, Elf Greg is 30. Everything works perfectly. He has no pain. Maybe a little hip issue, but it's nothing really to worry about. But with me, I'm finding different body parts every single day, and muscles I never even knew about are now all of a sudden starting to speak to me. And I got a little calf thing. I got a little Achilles going on both sides. But this is what happens. We get older, and all of a sudden, we don't move as well. So the first thing that I would say is we got to do a little stretching. We can be somewhat lazy with what we do, but we can tend to do better with the stretching. And as we stretch better, we'll make fuller motions. And as we make fuller motions, now our hips and shoulders are going to work a little bit more thoroughly. As a rule, here's what I would say. One, that drill that I did with the alignment sticks at the beginning is going to help you make more solid contact. And what I mean by that is that you're going to get the bottom of the arc to happen later. So that will help you. The other thing that you have to do is you have to have this club. If we go back to this, in order for me to make more solid contact, I have to have the club on the strike line for a period of time. And it has to be on the strike line going along the ground, not going into the ground. So here's what I would say. What can help? Width. Width in a golf swing is always a great help. Because what it does is it shallows out a swing. And when you shallow out the swing, now all of a sudden the club is running along the ground instead of into the ground. So what's a great drill for you to improve that contact? Here's what you do. You're going to get a 9-iron. You're going to stand over the golf ball. You've got the club held the way you normally do. You're going to take your lead hand off and go like this. And then all I want you to do, you know what, I'm going to record this. I love using the record button over here. So we're going to have a little record. Start this. And now I'm going to do a little one-armed 9-iron shot. Now, watch how shallow this club moves coming into the ball. This is a 9-iron. And just so that you can appreciate this, 9-irons, wedges, they tend to be steeper angles of attack because the club shafts are shorter, so you're standing closer. And when you're standing closer, the club can elevate a little bit more. So it will tend to be a little bit steeper. Well, when I go to a one-arm drill, I get width in the backswing. And the width in the backswing is coming from the length of the trail arm. So when you think about Kenneth earlier in the show, his elbow was bending. Well, now, if you look at this position here, my elbow doesn't bend. It's not bending right there. I'm letting myself feel the length of the trail arm. That's where width is going to come in. And so as I start to come down into the strike, what you can see is this club is going to near this. See how shallow that is right there? That's almost touching the ground right there. And now it's moving along the ground. It's not stabbing into the ground. I'm not turning this thing into an axe. I'm moving it along the ground. And so it moves along the ground, Even that last shot. Look at how along the ground that is from there to there. It's barely attacking into the grass or into the turf. And now it stays into the turf for a long time. You see how long that's in the turf for? And then it goes. So, simple. Improve your strike by doing this one-arm drill. Feel the width. So now I feel my arm really long. And now what I'm going to do is my next shot is going to be the same shot with two hands on the club, and I'm going to feel like my arm is not bending. So I come in here like this. Now here's the fun part. It's going to bend. It is going to bend. But when we get older and we don't move quite so well, we bend it too soon. Just like what was going on with Kenneth. We bend it too soon and we get really steep with that club. And now we start losing contact. So what I would say to you is do that one-arm drill and you're going to be just fine, okay? All right, let's jump over here to another swing. This is Dave. And I love this. These are fun ones too, and these are things that are going to help you. This is on a golf course. Now, what many of you will do is you'll hit shots at a practice tee and you'll video yourself on the practice tee. But what we also know is that we tend to make a different swing when we get to the golf course than we do on the practice tee. So I love being able to get swings on the golf course. In fact, one of the things that I would suggest to you is, and this is one of the things that I love about V1's app, is I can just hit a button here and all of a sudden I can compare one swing to another. And what that allows me to do is take a swing from the practice area and a swing from the golf course and see how similar they are. Not necessarily in what's going on positionally, but also you can see up here there's a timer. I can see in timing how, if I'm swinging, say, I've got a 9-iron in my hand, and I hit practice balls with a 9-iron, and then I went out and hit a 9-iron, I got it recorded, and now I go, do they have the same tempo? Do they have the same length swing? Am I moving the body the same way? These are all things that are going to help you get better, and this is one of the reasons why I love this app. All right, let me get back to this. By the way, that advertisement was brought to you by V1 Sports. All right, here we go. So here's what's going on with Dave. Now, Dave has a very nice, relaxed setup position. Okay, so this is fun. Again, what's fun is watching how individuals move. And I always look at, are there any things going on with the body that's creating a certain something? So assuming, Dave, that the body is cooperative, and it looks like you're in good shape, so I would expect no reason no reason for you not to be in great shape. What I see is I see the club spin early. So watch what happens with your arms and your hands. It spins early, so the club face is now in a little bit of an open position, and it's low right here. That club head at parallel should be here on the toe line, but it's not parallel until, well, probably right here. And now it's all inside, and that probably isn't parallel either. It's probably right in here somewhere. So the club is spinning to the inside. We're not taking the club back vertically enough. And then what happens is that you have what I call a round and up. So you take the club around and then you lift up. And when you lift up, it chucks your weight out to the toes again. So watch how Dave is now going to move a little forward right in here. You see how he moves forward and up? So it's kind of out there. And this camera is, the individual shooting here has done a really good job. Watch how right off the bill of the cap right there, when he starts to move, see how he moves forward in there and how much taller he is? So that means posture has changed. So there's some weight stuff going on here, some balance stuff going on, okay? Now, he starts to come down, and now he's really tall. And the club is now, because it's gone around and up and he's gotten taller, now the club is inside. And now, with an open face and an inside path, all of a sudden we become a face-reliant player. We're going to try to spin this thing, spin this club face as best we can. So we're going to see a real heavy rotate over, let that club come out, and then look at how much his right hand is over his left. You see that right there? It's right over there like that because he's trying to recover this. Fascinating. So here's the strike. Look at the shift in his shins. Watch how they go forward. Good push off the ground. At impact, though, that's where he is at impact. So the body is very much facing the golf ball. Now, watch. This is, again, a spine angle thing, so I'm going to draw that from... That's probably not exactly it. It's probably there. That's better. Maybe not even that. I'm going to go to there. That looks like where the back pocket is. So there he is at, now here he is at address. So if I go there to the pocket. So he's starting there, 65 degrees. And then at impact, he's here about 80, it's about 82, 83 degrees. So whatever that quick math is, like 17, is a 17-degree alteration. I'll show you something else here. This is much harder to do because of the movement of the camera. But that's where his rear is at address, and that's where his rear is at impact. So you can see how much his lower body has gone underneath. So this is I knew I was going to get this. This is why I set this thing up here, because I knew this is probably one of the most common faults in the game. And what I did was I built this, what I wisely called a breed bar. I built this thing, it's like a rail. And all you do is you could do this at your house. You just need a wall or a door or something like that. And you just put your tail up against there, cross your arms across. That's a great shot, Gibbsy. Excellent. And now what we're going to do is cross our arms across the chest. You rotate and you feel this trail glute stay on this bar. And then when you come down, what you want to do is you want to feel the lead glute get on, and then the hips stay on. And you almost want to feel when you go back that you're going to bump this thing over. So you're here and you bump that thing over. And when you start to do that, what you're going to see is that my head now is dropping down as I come through that shot, not standing up. So when your lower body comes underneath, you tend to lift up. When your lower body goes back, you tend to drop down. And what we see on the PGA Tour and professional sports is the average player is dropping about 2 inches in the downswing. From the top of from the start of the downswing to impact, it's about a 2-inch drop from here to here, because the glutes are going back, the hips are going back, and they're rotating open like that. The trail shoulder is dropping down. It's not moving up. I mean, this is a very, very common thing that you all battle. And so in this particular situation, it starts with around and up. Now, here's how we solve the around thing. I'm going to use this just because it's here. And what I like to do, and you could, by the way, use a golf bag to do this. It's just a simple thing. You just put this down, set this up like this, and when I take the club back, I want to make sure that I get it above that little thing that I have built. So I get in here, I feel that club. You maybe back out a little bit. Yeah, great. So you can see how when I take that club back, and now the other thing that you're going to notice is that when I get to first parallel, that the head of the golf club almost looks like it's outside the hands. And it is. And I would rather have that than the other. I don't like to see that club get way inside there. Okay? So we put this back, put this down, grab this club, grab this here. And I'll show you the other thing that you can do with an alignment stick, if you give me a down the line view, Gibbsy, is I just like to set that thing up, and I'll call it 230. So if 12 is here and 3 is here, I like to point this to 230. And all I want to do is when I take the club back, I want to feel like at parallel, this club shaft and that alignment stick are parallel to one another. So that club now feels like it's at 230. So I take the club to 230 and then go through. And this is a very, very good strike, more or less at my target. If that came out on the golf course, I'd be thrilled. That's probably 12 feet to the right of the flag. So that little drill I know is going to help you. Greg, we got another question?
Yes, this from Scott, and I think this will help answer a number of the questions in here about lower body action.
Yeah.
But Scott specifically says, Santa Breed, what is your favorite drill for sequencing in the downswing? Thank you.
Okay. So this is a hard one because I have so many favorite drills. But here's probably my favorite, and the reason why is that it's easy to do. And this is something that you can do in the wintertime. This is something that you can do anytime indoors. I don't use a golf ball. I would use a tennis ball. But what you do is this. You're going to take this back. I'm going to throw this into that there. So I make a backswing. My trail arm is bent. That's what you see every pitcher. No pitcher in the windup has their arm straight like this. It's always bent, right? So you go back in here, you're bent. body is coiled properly. You tend to be pretty tall in this. Nobody loads this and goes like this. They tend to like this. Okay, so now what I want to do here is I want to throw the ball into that screen. Well, if I fire my arm and straighten it on this side, now all of a sudden my arms are working first and the body isn't working first. So what we want for proper sequencing is I want this idea that my lower body is going to start, my upper body is going to go, my arms are going to then go, and then my wrist is going to let go. That's how the sequence works. But here's the thing, and this is the really important part for you to appreciate. Just because that's the way the sequence works doesn't mean that that's the way you need to think about it. In other words, if I think about taking this and throwing this over here, here's what's going to happen. It's literally musical chairs, okay? In order for me to throw this there, this has to make room. So I have to have an empty space. So I do this. And then my chest, because I want to throw it over there, it's going to turn over there. It's like if you met somebody and they were over here. You wanted to shake their hand. You would think about shaking their hand, but the first thing you might do is turn your foot so that you could go like this to shake their hand. But you're not thinking about moving the foot. You're making room for your body to move, okay? So in order for you to sit down in musical chairs, there has to be an available chair. And so what I'm saying to you is that when you take the body and you start to throw a ball, your hip is going to clear out of the way because your chest says, hey, I need to throw this ball over there, and I don't want to look like a dork. So I'm not going to go like this. I don't want to do that. And by the way, I don't want to watch anybody do that. Okay? I don't want to see that.
Me either.
That's like, no. I know there's a Santa Claus, and I know I don't want to see that. Here's what I want. I want the body to rotate. I want to throw it over there. And you don't have to be a great thrower. You just have to know. You remember that ad, by the way, when the guy was teaching his son how to throw a ball? Sorry, random thoughts. It happens to me. So what I want you to do is, and I love this drill. This is something you could do at the house. You just take it here and throw it over there. And this is a great drill for those of you that were baseball players. And now all you do is you keep that same idea in your mind. This is why I think that people that stand on the left side of the golf ball, give me a down the line shot here. This is another random thought. This is one of the things that I struggled with in the game of golf. This is the left side of this line. So there's a line right here. I'm standing on the left side of the line. Why, if I'm standing on the left side of the line, and I tell people, no, you need to aim more left. Or no, you're aiming too far right. The right side's over there, the left side's over here. Why am I right-handed standing on the left side of the ball? And the reason why I believe that is because, why I believe we're right-handed over here is because I'm going to throw this right-handed. I'm going to use the power of my right arm. And I have to have it go that way. So what I like to do is I like to get this image that I'm throwing that ball that's in my hand. It's a grip, but it's in my hand, and I'm going to throw it into that target. And when I throw it into that target, I hit it too far. It went 184 yards, but it was right at the target. And so the point is that when you throw to the target, you will sequence properly. And when you sequence properly, you're going to get a little bit more distance, which is exactly what I set that up because I thought I would hit it into that, not because I thought I'd hit it over. Okay? All right. I hope you all, by the way, are having as much fun as I am. This is my passion. I love helping people understand a golf swing and how they can play better. So thank you all for joining us, and thank you for allowing me to do this. All right, let's see what we've got going on here with Chris. So Chris at Address has a tremendous amount of angle between his chest and his thighs. A lot of angles here. Now, that tends to mean that his shoulders are going to be a little bit more level to the ground. When I tend to have a lot of bend over like this, shoulders tend to get parallel to the ground. And when that happens, they tend to get a little open. So I'm expecting to see a bit of an open move here, and I can actually see a little bit of that forearm underneath. I see the lead forearm underneath the trail forearm. At Address, this is something that Hogan talked about in his book. At Address, in fact, let me show this. Gibbsy, go to camera one. So when Mr. Hogan was talking about what he liked to see, he wants to see the top part of the forearm the lead forearm above this trail arm. And a lot of you, when you bend over too much, you get like this. And now all of a sudden you could see the bottom part of the lead forearm underneath the trail forearm, okay? That just comes from bending over a little bit too much. And that will create some little issues. Now, what I love about what I'm seeing here is he's got the tee set up, which is great. You can see the tee on the ground there. And he's got one alignment stick, and then he's got another little apparatus designed to maybe swing the club a little bit faster. And you can do that little tee with golf clubs. You don't have to do it with alignment sticks like I have done or like what Chris has done here. So really, really good job. I love seeing that. So let's see what we get. Okay, now this is what I thought we would see. So what I see from players that bend over too much is they tend to have a little bit of a movement. What you can see and what you will see here with Chris is he's gonna glide. His body basically said, look, I'm stuck here. I need to move. And the brain goes, oh, okay, well, let's just glide in here. So what you're gonna see is Chris is gonna have just a little shimmy. You see that little shimmy? I'm stuck. I'm gonna shimmy. Club goes back. No lift right there because it's all a lateral shift. So the club stays low. Now he starts to rotate so we don't get any wrist set. Club is really, really, really behind him. Look at how behind this is. That first parallel is right about, well, it's somewhere between that frame and this frame. And you can't even see the club head right there. The arm hasn't bent, so he's gone laterally and then continued to rotate, and there's no lift in that swing. Now he starts to lift, but look at how pinned he looks right here. So now he's pinned. He doesn't have any length to the swing. And now he starts to come down. And this is a beautiful sequence. But because of what's going on, the club face is in open position right there. He's outside the line smartly because with an open swing, now you got to come across to make it functional. So he's done a really good job doing that. But now he's very, very tall again. And this is what you're going to notice. This seems to be a constant with everybody. There's a lot of standing up that goes on in the golf swing. If there was one drill that I would say, other than the one drill that I shared for the start of the 12 drills of Christmas or whatever we're calling this, this would be the 12 days of drills. This would be this, that get yourself something like this and work on this, okay? The 12 days of drills. That is a problem that I see all the time. Okay? Okay. So now, how do we solve this problem? All right. This is what we do. This is what I like to do. Again, I like to use simple things. So you can use a golf ball and put the golf ball, we're going to need that close-up shot down low if I could, Gibbsy, in a camera 7. Or just give me a camera 1 while you're doing that. And then, yeah, there you go. Beautiful. So what I do is I like to block this inside path. For the draggers, those of you that drag, I like to, because if you drag, you're going to hit this ball. So what I like is I like to put a little block in there. And now what happens to us is when we take the club back, we feel like we're pushing away. Well, when you push away, let's go to a camera 1 here for a second. Watch what happens to my hands. When I push my hands away from the body, they're going to get farther from my thighs here, but they're also going to go up into the air. So right now, this hand is at a height, and right now this hand is at a height. They're both at different heights. But all I did was I just pushed my hands away. And as I push them away, they lift. So when I take this backswing and I prevent it from going inside, I now feel like I have to go this way. My hands are working away. They're working up, and now all of a sudden my club is coming up, which is exactly what we need to do with Chris. Because Chris is getting that club too much inside, he gets pinned. So when this ball is preventing that inside drag, now all of a sudden we can go this way. So all we're doing is we're working on taking the club here. And now we go through. Now, let me show you another one that you can do, and this is a little bit easier. So what you're going to do is you're going to get a tee. Put the club down on the ground, and you put a tee right here. So now when I take this club back, I've got to go above that tee. And what I want you to do, what you're going to see is that this is an exaggeration. And I need you to exaggerate. You've got to exaggerate. It's got to feel so crazy different for you. You have to exaggerate. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this club out here and then go. And now I get a good strike. The ball is traveling exactly the way I want, right at my target, just like that. All right, I got time for one quick question. Greg, we got one more?
When pitching and chipping, should the focus be on hitting down through the ball or hitting a blade of grass at the bottom of the ball? Should the club have forward shaft lean at contact? That's from Gary.
Okay, Gary, and everybody, here's what you need to understand. First of all, you're looking for an absolute rule. Should the shaft be leaning forward at strike? Well, a lot depends on what type of shot you're trying to hit. Okay, if I want to hit a shot that goes up into the air, which I would call a pitch, I'm going to let the club go past my hands, and that'll throw the ball up into the air. If I want to hit a low shot, then I'm going to feel like the handle is ahead of the club head, and then I'll have some shaft lean, and that ball will go that way. Here's what I would tell you, and again, 53-degree wedge is what I have here. Here's the simple rule. You want to improve your pitching, you want to improve your chipping. Here's what you're going to do. When you make a backswing, and I'll just do pitching, what I like to feel when I'm hitting a pitch shot is my trail arm bends a little bit. What I like to do is carry that bend all the way through the strike. And when I carry that bend through the strike, now the low point happens past the ball. I'm not trying to hit a blade of grass underneath the ball or anything like that. What I'm trying to do is I'm trying to make sure that as I'm coming through there, I'm hitting the ball first, and then I'm hitting the ground. And the only way that you're going to do that is by keeping this trail arm slightly bent. So when we come through here and we come through with the bend in the arm, and I straighten it out on the forward side of the golf ball, or the target side of the golf ball, now I don't need to worry about that, okay? So all I do, I get in here like this, I get bend, I straighten it out over there, and all of a sudden I get the strike. This takes a little bit of practice, but something that is very, very easy for you to do. When you start to do that, then you can alter stuff, okay? But what you want to do is you want to realize that when I make a swing, I get set at address, my right hand, I'm going to make this up. Let's just say it's 30 inches from the ground. When I bend this elbow, it's now no longer 30 inches from the ground. It might be 33 inches from the ground. And so when I come back through and I'm rotating through, yeah, my trail shoulder is going to be down, but my elbow is bent, so my hand is going to be right back where it needs to be, or slightly above it. And then when I straighten the elbow, now I'm throwing the club head into the ground over here. So the club is now all of a sudden coming in, and then it moves a little bit parallel to the ground. I know I'm going a little bit fast here, but that's because we're kind of running out of time. So what I like to do here is I like to feel that arm straighten on the target side of the ball, and then I go. And I hit that little shot there. I don't think about the lean. I don't think about it. I think about the elbow. Okay, now, as we close here, first, for all of us here at V1 Sports, thank you so much for joining us. And reminder that if you want any additional tips, our 12 days of drills, you have to go over to V1 Sports in the social media platforms. You'll see all these different drills that we've got for you, all designed to help you improve. And I can promise you this is the one thing that I am absolutely certain of when it comes to instruction. V1 has the best coaches right here to help you play your best golf. The drills that you're going to learn from over these next 12 days, I guarantee you are going to help you improve. I would make notes when you watch these things. Don't be afraid to ask questions. And if anybody has any questions, obviously just go to V1 Sports and any one of the social media platforms. You can ask questions in there. Hope everybody has a wonderful Christmas, a holiday season, and a safe new year. For all of us here at V1 Sports, thanks so much for joining. All the best.